there were 191 anime that dropped in 2025. Give or take. And I gotta say, this year's anime schedule was pretty good. From romance and action to adventure and drama, I'd say there's an anime that'll scratch whatever itch you may have. Oh, and we also had that movie that became the highest grossing anime film of all time. So there's that too. But anyways, I've decided to painstakingly watch every single one. You know, for your sakes. Not because I have a crippling addiction to anime or anything. No, definitely not that. Definitely not. But because I wanted to break down every anime. And yes, I mean every single one. But I'll first be going through the best of the best. The anime I'd say you make time for, even if it means missing the birth of your own child. Along with giving you my personal ratings with a total score. Now you're going to want to take that score with a grain of salt, because I'll be rating them based on the story, animation, characters, and of course finally what could possibly be the most important of them all. The boobas, or etchiness, for all the gooners out there. Speaking of gooners, I can already feel their blood-boiled rage seeping through the screen with jealousy as I talk about this first anime. So how many girlfriends would you consider is too many? 2? 3? Perhaps 5? Well, how about 100? Because in the 100 girlfriends who really love you, Rentaro gets rejected for the 100th time in a row. Feeling utterly defeated, he decides to go to a matchmaking shrine where he wishes to finally get a girlfriend. Then suddenly a god appears, and due to a mixture of pity and a prior mishap on the god's part, rewards Rentaro with 100 soulmates that he will meet throughout high school. This anime's second season gets a 4 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 4.5 for the boobas, for a total score of 18.5. What happens when you mix medicine, mystery, and a tinge of seduction? Well, apparently you get an absolute masterpiece with the Apothecary Diaries, which follows Momo, who's taken and sold to the Imperial Court to work as a maid. While there, strange events start to happen, causing Momo's curiosity to get the best of her, and using her extensive medical knowledge, uncovers and solves the mysteries that lie within the Imperial Court, all while trying to remain out of the limelight. This anime's second season gets a 5 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 3.5 for the boobas, for a total score of 17.5. Are you like me, who for some reason has a weird obsession with animes that involve watching an MC grind his way from zero to hero? Well, if so, then allow me to introduce you to the best one, with Solo Leveling. In a modern world where dimensional rifts containing all sorts of monsters suddenly appear, Jinwoo, your average E-rank hunter, and his party decide to explore what was supposed to be a safe dungeon, but what they end up finding within is a horror they never imagined, leaving Jinwoo coming out something entirely different. This anime's second season gets a 3.5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 3.5 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 13. One of the best anime being about horse girls racing was probably not on your 2025 bingo card. Uma Musume, Cinderella Grey, takes place in the Uma Musume universe, but this time we follow a different set of students, specifically Oguri Cap, who had issues with her knees while growing up, but through incredible effort, she overcame her limits and now has become a true force, with the potential to win it all. This anime's first and second season gets a 4 for the story, a 4.5 for the animation, a 4.5 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 13. Tissues, check. Comfort food, check. Romantic partner or body pillow substitute, check. It now seems like you are prepared to watch the most wholesome romance of all time. The Flagrant flower blooms with dignity, follows Rentaro, who's often avoided by others due to his tall and delinquent-like appearance. Despite having a gentle heart, Rentaro goes to Chidori High, which is known for having simple-minded delinquents, making enemies with the neighboring Kikyo Academy, an all-girls private school. One day after school, Rentaro helps out his parents at their pastry shop where he has an awkward encounter with a customer, which ends in her running away. Later she comes back and introduces herself as the cheerful Karuko. After spending time with her, Rentaro appreciates how she does not judge him based on his looks, and gets excited to meet her again. But how will this play out once Rentaro finds out that Karuko is a student at Kikyo Academy? This anime's first season gets a 6 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 6 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 17. Speaking of wholesome, how about an anime all about fighting? Huh? I know, I get it, but stay with me here. In Windbreaker, Sakura has been an outcast all his life due to his appearance and lack of social skills. Sakura decides to finally move to a new town for a fresh start, and joins Furin High, where strength is favored over academics. His goal is simple, to take the top spot at Furin and be deemed the strongest. But that might be harder than he originally thought once learning that Furin is actually a delinquent school that defends the weak and shows him kindness that he's never been given. And so Sakura will have to learn to push past his discomfort, and for the first time, will fight for the sake of others. This anime's second season gets a 4.5 for the story, a 4.5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 15. Normally, I'm not the biggest fan of educational anime, but when you're being taught by a guy who's the combination of Jimmy Neutron and Doc Brown, mixed with a gallon of Monster Energy, then it's oddly entertaining. In Dr. Stone, after a millennium of time has passed, Taiju awakens, learning that he and the rest of humanity have been turned into stone. Taiju then meets the person who freed him from his stone body, which was his science-loving friend, Senku, who's created a master plan to bring back all of humanity that will only work with a combination of Taiju's brawn and Senku's brain. This anime's 6th and 7th season get a 4 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 4.5 for the characters, and a 3 for the boobas, for a total score of 15.5. What is the best anime to watch when watching anime for the very first time? Is it A, Naruto, B, Full Metal Alchemist, C, Demon Slayer, or D, none of the above? If you chose D, then you'd be correct, because the answer is obviously Akame ga Kill. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that evil. The real obvious answer is Demon Slayer. One day as Tanjiro comes back home after making money to support his family, he's met with the horrifying sight of his entire family being slaughtered by a demon. On top of that, the sole survivor is his sister Nezuko, who has been turned into a bloodthirsty demon. Consumed by rage and hatred, Tanjiro vows to avenge his family and save his sister no matter the cost. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1 gets a 5 for the story, a 6 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 17. You know that specific genre of anime where you're introduced to the absolute scummiest people known to man, and throughout the entire story, you're impatiently waiting for them to get exactly what they deserve? And once they do, you reach this euphoric feeling of satisfaction that you never thought was possible. That kind of genre? Yeah, that's pretty much my happy marriage. Misery seems everlasting for Mio. Born from an arranged marriage, she's quickly discarded by her family after her mother's passing. Her father remarries, and her half-sister gets all the attention, while Mio is forced to work as a lowly servant. She then is forced to marry Kyoka, a famous noble known for being callous and ending all previous marriages. But upon meeting him, Mio realizes he's nothing like the rumors, and truly might finally be able to embrace a life of happiness. This anime's second season gets a 4.5 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 4.5 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 14. I won't lie, if you had asked me at the beginning of the year which anime would probably give the most fan service, I'm absolutely 1,000,000% positive I wouldn't have said an anime all about mineralogy. Rury Rocks follows Rury, who, after getting enamored by a crystal necklace, way out of her budget, goes to the mountains in search of minerals to make her own necklace. While there, she meets Nagi, a graduate and expert when it comes to minerals, and helps show her the way. After being left in awe by the enormous quartz formation, Rury convinces Nagi to teach her more about the world of mineralogy. This anime's first season gets a 5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 3.5 for the boobas, for a total score of 18.5. I think we can all agree that isekais have been the genre that have gotten milked dry the most. Like, dear God, put that cow out of its misery dry. And so just when I think that there's no possible way that they can make another isekai, they make one about a girl having mangeka powers. Like, the whole ass desk is her weapon. I give up. I'm just gonna read the synopsis now. Zenshu follows Natsuko, who's recognized as a genius animation director after the success of her first project. But due to the fact that she knows nothing about love, she's having a hard time creating her storyboard. Just then, she passes out and awakens in the world of her childhood favorite anime. This anime's first season gets a 3 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 4 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 12. Do you love to laugh? Like, I mean really laugh. The kind of gut-wrenching laugh that makes you think,
I'm in danger!
Because you haven't taken a breath in over 2 minutes and your abs are more rock hard than Gojo is every time he sees Geto? Well, if so, then you're in luck, because you'll non-stop be laughing while watching Grand Blue. Iori moves to the coastal town where he used to spend his days at his grandfather's scuba shop. Entering his freshman year of college, Iori dreams of having the ideal college experience. But when he opens the doors to that scuba shop, he's dragged into the most chaotic college years he'll ever experience. This anime's second season gets a 5 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 6 for the characters, and a 3 for the boobas, for a total score of 18. Now, one of my personal favorite comedy animes, hands down, is Nichijou. So when I saw that there was a new show done by the same creator, screw not breathing for 2 minutes, I plan on laughing the whole way to the hospital after watching this one. City the animation. Midori is freshly out of high school, and bills and responsibility are the last thing on her mind, and would rather just have fun. Her best friend, Nikura, however, is the exact opposite and gets roped into Midori's schemes constantly. That leads to them meeting Wako, a tenacious yet airheaded classmate, which leads to this trio living in the same apartment, and they attempt to navigate their lives in this out-of-the-ordinary city. This anime's first season gets a 5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 6 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 16. For this next anime, think K-On! On steroids. Not really, but pretty much. In Rock is a Lady's Modesty, Lalisa attends Ocean Girls Academy, known for being a prestigious school where few have been awarded the title of Noble Maiden, which is given to women that embody the ideal Japanese culture and refinement. The one problem that Lalisa faces is that she must hide her love of rock in order to achieve her dream of becoming a noble maiden, but her resolve starts to slip after she meets Otaha while she's skillfully playing the drums in the abandoned school building. This anime's first season gets a 4 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 14. Alright, I've genuinely been at my computer screen for like 30 minutes trying to figure out how to start this off, and I got nothing. So I'm just going to simply describe this anime as wholesomely random with potential romance. Aharen-San Wa Hakarenai follows Raido, who's eager to make friends entering his first year of high school. So he starts with the tiny and soft-spoken Reina. Unfortunately, Reina has a hard time gauging personal space, and so the two struggle to find a spark to this unlikely friendship. But despite the countless weird challenges they face, Raido is determined to befriend Reina. This anime's second season gets a 4 for the story, a 5 for the animation, 5 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 15. Fat Assassin. Need I say more? Yeah? No. Okay. Well, in Sakamoto Days, Sakamoto decides to retire from being the most powerful hitman after having love at first sight. From there, Sakamoto gained a wife, a daughter, a convenience store, and some extra pounds. Unfortunately, he finds his old crime life hard to shake off. After a bounty is put on his head, his pursuers will soon find out that Sakamoto hasn't lost his edge, and will do anything to keep the peaceful life he has now. This anime's first and second season get a 4 for the story, a 3.5 for the animation, a 4 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 12.5. Now, there's plenty of anime that have a concept that on paper sounds pretty goofy, but I gotta say that one of my favorites is one of those, and it's simply about magical religious firefighters killing demons. Fire Force. For years, humanity has been plagued by a horrible phenomena that leave random civilians combusting into creatures known as infernals. The only ones who are able to stop them are pyrokinetics, humans gifted with the ability to control flames and remain human. In order to stop these incidents from getting worse, they gather together to form the Fire Force. Shinra, a fresh recruit to the Fire Force, will end up doing more than just play hero. He will ultimately uncover the secrets and answers to the strange fire that took his family's life all those years ago. This anime's third season gets a 5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 3.5 for the boobas, for a total score of 18.5. Do you ever wonder if this is all just a simulation, and at the end you wake up to a room full of people you don't know, and they're all judging you because of your anime taste? And I'm just there like, what? You can only watch so many anime during COVID before you start scraping a little too deep, and now you're just watching Yuri on Ice thinking, yeah, I should probably go touch grass. No? Just me? Anyways, in Kowloon Generic Romance, Reiko lives in the very dysfunctional city of Kowloon. She works as a realtor alongside Hajime, someone she's been in love with, and though both of them have their differences, they get along well enough to enjoy the city together. That is until Hajime kisses Reiko while half asleep, apologizing by saying he'd mistaken her for someone else, which leads to Reiko uncovering a past she cannot remember. This anime's first season gets a 4.5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 4.5 for the characters, and a 2 for the boobas, for a total score of 16. You ever wish you could have a cartoon pet? If you had to choose one, you'd probably think I'd go with Scooby-Doo or a Garfield or maybe even a Jerry. Well, you'd be wrong, because the only pet I'd want is this Tanuki from With You in the Rain. Fuji is returning home after a rainstorm when she's caught off guard by an animal resembling a dog holding a sign that asks to take it home. Though she's reluctant, the animal hands her an umbrella, which is enough for Fuji to crack and take it in. Soon Fuji starts to realize that this animal is smarter than she thought, as they communicate through writing, and whether alone or with friends, Fuji and her little friend never fail to entertain each other. This anime's first season gets a 4 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 4 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 12. To reboot or not to reboot? That is the question. Well, for some. I mean, seriously, I'm sorry, but that was so painful to watch. It was like the visual version of hearing nails on a chalkboard. But thankfully, you don't have to worry about that with Ranma and a half. While training martial arts in the mountains, Ranma and his father suffer an accident that leaves them with a curse. Whenever they get doused with water, Ranma turns into a girl and his father a panda, with hot water being the only thing that can revert them back. And to make matters worse, Ranma unknowingly is roped into a forced marriage by his father. Now he must live with the bride-to-be Akane, which will lead to plenty of chaotic misunderstandings. This anime's first and second season get a 4 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 3 for the boobas, for a total score of 17. Now this next anime is honestly trash. Well, more like it's completely about trash. Magical trash. Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to give you more context. Gachiakuta takes place in a city divided by the wealthy, who lay cleanliness above all, disposing of any and all trash in sight, and the slums, where people collect all the trash that the wealthy dispose of. There we meet Rudo and his adoptive father Regto. Rudo spends his time scavenging garbage that would get him sent to the pit, which is also the criminal punishment where you get plunged to the bottom. When Regto is murdered, Rudo is falsely accused and sent to the pit. Rudo then awakens to a trash-filled hell, and he must survive the creatures that inhabit it. This anime's first season gets a 6 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 2 for the boobas, for a total score of 18. Imagine you spend your entire life fortune on an amazing 5-star hotel, entirely staffed with robots, just to have absolutely no one show up. Tragic. Well, to be fair, you and everyone else is either dead or gone, so technically it's not a failure. Apocalypse Hotel. Jingaro Hotel is a luxurious hotel that employs robots to provide the best of the best when it comes to hospitality. The only problem is that no one's visited in decades ever since humanity fled Earth due to its toxic atmosphere. Yachio is the hotel manager and still does her best to keep everyone and everything in tip-top shape, hopeful that humanity will one day return. This anime's first season gets a 4.5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 4.5 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 14. You might want to hold on to your balls for this next one. And if you don't have any, make sure to grab hold of the nearest strangers. Don't worry, they'll take away the restraining order after hearing about this anime. Your sentence, however, might still be the same, but can't win them all. Dandadan. Reeling from a recent breakup, Momo shows kindness to her socially awkward classmate Ken. Ken unfortunately sees Momo's kindness as her sharing an interest in his obsession with aliens. Momo, however, is into the occult and doesn't believe in aliens whatsoever. A rivalry and unlikely friendship is quickly made as these two decide to prove the other wrong and uncover the chaotic and bizarre secrets of the supernatural and extraterrestrial. This anime's second season gets a 4.5 for the story, a 4.5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 2 for the boobas, for a total score of 16. This next anime can only be described as pretty much Spy X Family plus ice skating, and then minus the spy. And technically there's not a family. Whatever, it feels similar. You'll know what I mean when you watch Medalist. Tsukasa always dreamed of being a competitive solo figure skater, but starting too late in life meant that he never got it. Now working as an assistant coach, on his first day he meets Inori, a shy 5th grader sneaking into the skating rink. She's captivated by skating, but being held back by her overprotective mom and her own self-doubt. But after Tsukasa sees the incredible potential she has, he offers to coach her and vows to help her achieve her dreams. This anime's first season gets a 5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 6 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 16. Speaking of Spy X Family, I'm gonna be talking about exactly that. And that's how good of an anime this is, that it doesn't even need an intro riff. Spy X Family. In a world with corrupt politicians, frenzied nationalists, and other warmongering forces, Master Spy Twilight has been tasked with yet another mission in hopes that no child will ever have to see war. Using the alias Lloyd Forger, his mission is to gain information and stop politician Donovan Desmond's plans. The best way to do that is to acquire a fake family and have his child attend the same school as Donovan's child. He finds the perfect candidates in Yor, his new wife, and Anya, his new daughter. But just as Lloyd has his secrets, so does the other members of his family, with Yor being an underground assassin, as well as Anya having the ability to read anyone's mind. This anime's third season gets a 5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 6 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 16. Smell that? Yeah, that's definitely the smell of BL. Well, I actually don't know if you can even consider it BL, since one of the boys is actually a secret alien monster. But all the BL lovers will probably just write that off anyways. The summer Hikaru died. It's been 6 months since Yoshiki's best friend Hikaru went missing in the mountains and returned a week later. And though others have suspected nothing, Yoshiki could sense something was off, confronting Hikaru and learning the secret that an alien creature inhabited Hikaru as he was bleeding out in the mountains. Yoshiki desperately clings to Hikaru through grief and swears to keep his identity a secret, not knowing what horrors will come upon his town. This anime's first season gets a 4.5 for the story, a 4.5 for the animation, a 4 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 13. Oh, you know what? I actually think that was the smell of GL. Well, I also don't know if you can consider it that, being that one of the girls is being gaslit into thinking she's in love with the other girl. But all the GL lovers will probably just write that off anyways. There's no freaking way I'll be your lover. The socially anxious Renako is dead set on making friends this year, but after quickly befriending the famous model Mai, she realizes that pretending to be a different person is not easy at all. Later, Mai and Renako have a heart-to-heart, leaving Renako feeling more optimistic towards her goal. That is until Mai confesses her love to Renako, and although Renako is not interested in dating, Mai insists that Renako and her hang out alternatively as friends and lovers while figuring out which one Renako wants to choose. This anime's first season gets a 4 for the story, a 4.5 for the animation, a 4.5 for the characters, and a 2 for the boobas, for a total score of 15. Get ready for one hell of an emotional rainbow. Like, you're gonna be tasting the rainbow to an amount that Skittles can't even comprehend. Like, to a point where you're damn near being waterboarded by the rainbow. Point is, you're gonna be feeling a lot of emotions while watching Anne Shirley. 11-year-old Anne Shirley spent her life from one family to the next. That is until a reluctant old couple takes her in, though originally wanting a boy, but her energy, personality, and charm win them over. And now Anne will finally settle into her life, experiencing many new things for the very first time. This anime's first season gets a 5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 15. At least once a year, you get an anime that on the surface just looks kinda meh. But then once you watch it, you're like, oh, wow, that was actually pretty damn good. That's pretty much Secrets of the Silent Witch. In the kingdom of Riddle lives a genius magician that can use magic without needing any incantations. With this amazing skill, Monica and the other 7 sages are strong enough to take on powerful creatures, like a legendary dragon, all on their own. However, not many people know her identity due to her shyness and refer to her as the Silent Witch. However, that will change now that she must secretly defend the second prince from an assassination attempt, and uncover who is behind it all. This anime's first season gets a 4 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 4 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 13. Alright, now's a good time to go grab your napkins. Then you're going to want to go ahead and grab even more napkins. And of course, finally, make sure you don't forget about an extra supply of napkins. Ultimately, you're gonna need a lot of napkins while watching To Your Eternity. An orb is cast down to Earth to be observed by far. This orb is able to take whatever form it captures. One day after taking the form of a wolf on death's door, it comes across its master, a young boy waiting for his tribe to return. The boy finally decides to abandon his home to find his paradise. However, with a heavily injured body and no sight of his comrades, what will become of the boy? This anime's third season gets a 6 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 16. One of the great things about anime is the fact that there's one for every type of person. You got ones for comedies or action, ones for people who like music or love sports. But there is one area that still hasn't been touched. But that all ends today, cause this anime is for all the furry romance lovers out there. With you, our love will make it through. When Mari bumps into a fellow tardy student, she's surprised to find that he's a beast folk who attends her school. Though it's not rare to see beast folk, it's very uncommon. While nervous at first, Mari soon gets to know more about him, learning that he's more than just a furry exterior. This anime's first season gets a 4 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 4 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 12. Next up is an anime all about puberty. You know, puberty. The thing that makes you erase from existence or cause a seductive clone of yourself. You know, puberty. Puberty. Rascal does not dream of Santa Claus. The rare puberty syndrome is thought to just be a myth, a rare disease that only affects teenagers. Hardly anyone can recognize it due to its supernatural occurrences, but Sakuta knows from personal experience that it's very much real. Mai is a third year in high school known for her fame as a child actress, but halted her career for unknown reasons. That is until Sakuta sees her wearing a bunny outfit in a public library, yet no one bats an eye, almost as if she's invisible. Sakuta decides to help Mai after realizing that this is yet another case of puberty syndrome. This anime's second season gets a 4.5 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 4.5 for the characters, and a 2 for the boobas, for a total score of 15. Do you like vampires? Then get ready for the most action-packed, scary, gory, bloody, chaotic What? Oh, it's none of those? Oh, it's actually a really laid-back vampire anime? Oh. Okay. Call the Night. Ko is like any average middle schooler, struggling with the complexity of love while also dealing with insomnia. He normally likes to walk around the town during the night, and during one of those nights, he meets Nazuna. She invites him over to her place to cure his insomnia, but after he wakes up in her place, he comes to find Nazuna biting his neck, revealing to be a vampire. This anime's second season gets a 5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 16. So this is one of the few anime that I'm actually stumped, because normally when there's a romance with multiple romantic choices, I always have one that I want to win for sure, but after watching this first season, I genuinely don't think I'm going to be able to make a choice. Dealing with the Mikadono Sisters is a breeze. Miwa, Nico, and Kazuki stand at the very top of Saika Academy as its 3 prodigies in shogi, karate, and theater. The 3 sisters have slowly drifted apart due to the overwhelming dedication to their crafts. That is until Yu comes into their life. Yu is the son of a famous actress that sadly passed away, and though he has no extraordinary talent, he's devoted to fulfilling his mom's final wish to build a true and happy family. So when the Mikadono Sisters' father allows him to stay with them in order to keep the sisters in check, this may and well be Yu's chance to finally obtain the family he's always wanted. This anime's first season gets a 5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 6 for the characters, and a 2 for the boobas, for a total score of 18. Now that you've made it a decent way through the video, now might actually be a terrible time to use the bathroom, because it's currently being occupied by the stylish version of the ghost kid from The Grudge. Toilet-bound Hanako. Everyone knows the famous 7 mysteries, including Hanako-san, the ghost of a young girl who haunts the school's bathrooms. Legends say that if the student can successfully summon Hanako, she'll grant you any wish. However, when Nene successfully summons Hanako, she's surprised to find out that he's actually a boy. She then gets tangled into Hanako's world and helps Hanako maintain the balance between mortals and ghosts. This anime's second season gets a 4 for the story, a 4.5 for the animation, a 4 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 13.5. Okay, look, I'm gonna go ahead and just self-expose myself right now. I did skim through this next anime, mainly because I've never really watched the show, but I've heard it's good and it's rated really highly. So I guess the only way I can really describe this anime is historical war. Anyways, Kingdom. For 500 years, China has seen non-stop warfare, and from that, only 7 powerful states emerged. Jin, an orphan from one of the kingdoms, trains with his best friend, Pao, in hopes of becoming a great general. But after a fierce coup d'etat happens, Jin is thrown into the blood-soaked pages of China's history. This anime's 6th season gets a 4 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 3 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 11. Now this next anime is not your typical anti-hero demon lord anime, because this demon lord is also a babysitter. Clevatess. Surrounded by 4 armies of dark beasts, 5 humanoid races strive to push the boundaries of this world. Unfortunately, the 13 heroes were wiped out by one of the dark beasts known as Clevatess. In retaliation against humanity, Clevatess storms the capital and leaves nothing but death and destruction behind. But humanity still has a chance to redeem themselves, as Clevatess finds a baby amidst the destruction and decides to go undercover as a human to see if humanity is worth saving or not. This anime's first season gets a 4.5 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 4 for the characters, and a 2 for the boobas, for a total score of 14.5. The fan favorite OG comedy is back. Well, not in the way you'd expect. You see, this anime season will be taking place in a classroom, which is pretty weird if you know what the anime is about. Which is also on brand for this anime, so I guess in a way it makes sense. Mr. Ginpachi's zany class is, well, to put simply, a Gintama spin-off, where all the characters are in a classroom, and it's slapstick, wild, wacky, comedic nonsense at its finest. This spin-off gets a 6 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 6 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 17. Gals, fan service, and everything cosplay. These were the ingredients to make the perfect anime. But after accidentally adding a socially awkward man, my dress-up darling was born. Gojo spends his high school life perfecting the art of making Hina dolls. Gojo goes to extreme lengths to keep this hobby a secret, meaning he's not a social person with friends. But that's all gonna change once Marin enters his life, someone who's the complete opposite of Gojo in every way. After accidentally finding out about Gojo's hobby, Marin doesn't judge, but is enthralled by it. Marin confesses that she also has a hobby and asks for Gojo's help. Gojo ultimately agrees, and now will face many events that he must overcome with himself. This anime second season gets a 5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 6 for the characters, and a 3 for the boobas, for a total score of 18. If you had a demon as a butler, would you A. shit yourself, B. shit yourself, C. shit yourself, or D. sacrifice your eye for immense power? Well, even though we would have all chose everything but D, our MC in this next anime is fully stocked up on toilet paper and has one too many eyes for his liking. Black Butler. Seal is known as the Queen's guard dog, taking care of any unsettling things happening in Victorian England. Aided by Sebastian, a demon who formed a contract with Seal during his darkest time to get revenge on all who've wronged him. As they help Her Majesty, Seal and Sebastian will uncover the mysteries of all of Seal's misfortunes. Black Butler's Emerald Witch arc gets a 4 for the story, a 4 for the animation, a 4 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 12. You ever have that one friend in high school that no matter how hard they tried, they always would get roped into all the hot goss and would have to play therapist every time? Yeah, I'm talking about you, Bryce. Anyways, that's pretty much Jogoro in Shoshimin. Jogoro always had great detective skills during middle school, but he quickly learned that those skills were not wanted or appreciated, so he vows to go through high school as just a regular guy. Unfortunately, he will not have the peaceful school life he planned for, and will get swept into many incidents that need those skills he never planned on using. This anime's second season gets a 5 for the story, a 5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 0 for the boobas, for a total score of 15. Now this next anime is great, but I'd be lying if I said I was happy, because instead of making a sequel, which is what I'm pretty sure everyone would want, they decide to make a spin-off with My Hero Academia Vigilantes. In a world filled with quirk users, Koichi dreams of becoming a hero, but with his sliding ability, he feels like that dream is always going to be simply that. But after meeting the brash brawler Knuckle Duster and the online sensation Popstep, Koichi might actually be able to make that dream a reality as the three team up to stop the villains that are overlooked by the police. This anime's first season gets a 4 for the story, a 4.5 for the animation, a 3.5 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 13. And that finally brings us to the epic conclusion of what possibly might be considered the most roller coaster anime ever created. Like, I'm talking one season is godlike, and then the next it's a steaming pile of hot garbage. But thankfully they decided to go with the first one for this final season of My Hero Academia. The newly discovered quirks have been increasing in people over the years, letting them possess all sorts of different powers. Since he was a child, Midoriya has wanted nothing more than to be a hero. Unfortunately for him, he possesses no quirk, until one day when his heroic act allows him the chance to inherit the powers he's always wanted from his idol, All Might. This anime's final season gets a 4 for the story, a 5.5 for the animation, a 5 for the characters, and a 1 for the boobas, for a total score of 15. Now it's time to move on to the rest of this year's lineup, and this is more so for the hardcore anime fans who've already blown through all the anime I just talked about. So rather than sifting through countless anime and gambling on one you think you'd like, I'll quickly break it down and say if it's worth a watch or not. And as you can see from the runtime of this video right now, when I say quick, I really mean fast as f***. And for those who actually willingly sit through this, I commend you. And for your reward, I give each of you a crisp high five. But since I'm not actually there and I don't know any of you, you're gonna have to imagine me giving you the high five. So yeah. Anyways, let's go. Forced marriage gone wrong. Grocery store adventurer. Secret work crush. Opposites attract. Secret OPMC. Misunderstanding romance. Adventuring teacher. Detective, but with medicine. Secret OPMC number 2. An elf in Japan. Prequel, but also not. Town boy romance. Corrupt empire. Memory loss romance. Magical girl roommate. Basically War of the Worlds. Public speaking anime. Ditzy romance. Cinderella romance reversed. Schoolgirl assassins. Ghost hotel. Magical girl versus robots. Hobby hunting. Generic Cowboy Bebop. Witch romance. Secret OP teacher. Romance but just friends. Panty-powered romance. Samurai vs. demons. Surprise step-sibling romance. Odd jobs adventurer. Isekai but alchemist. Isekai but politics. Isekai but bureaucrat. Isekai but shopaholic. Isekai but noble. Isekai but cat. Isekai but generic. Isekai but Power Rangers. Isekai but reverse harem. Isekai but generic number 2. Isekai but old witch. Isekai but space. Isekai but yandere. Isekai but wet. Isekai but season 1 peak. Isekai but OP royalty. Isekai but strategy. Isekai but vending machine. Isekai but ugly. Isekai but dreams. Isekai but noble number 2. Isekai but assassin. Isekai but cooking. Isekai but VR. Isekai but gatherer. Isekai but accidentally villainess. Insecure sister anime. Spy X loser. Dating sim anime. Gorilla reverse harem. Giant robots fighting. A ninja and assassin under one roof. Quest of eternal youth. Robot romance. Nothing but photography. Mukbang with girls. Catch me at the ballpark. Robot mystery. Generic demon slayer. Early life crisis. Samurai but with knowledge. Secret detective. Generic street fighter. Ghost detective. Cat from space. Compass 2.0. Frenemy adventures. Just read the manga. Oni revenge. Just skip this one. Chaotic demon hunters. Time traveling adventurer. Insecure S rank. Love octagon. Adventurer turned chef. Watari-kun is about to collapse. Unsloppy seconds. The shy hero and the assassin princesses. Private tutor to the duke's daughter. Crazy detectives. Arcade romance. Girls in a food court. Unexpected romance. Camping simulator. Wannabe bad girl. Arknights rise from embers. Zombie cats. Demon slayer but kids. Hotel for assassins. Billy and Mandy but anime. Yakuza karaoke. Turkey. Knockoff food wars. Secret OP saint. Yaoi. Probably. Earthquake that gives powers. YouTuber Squid Games. Knockoff K-pop demon hunters. Schoolgirls singing a cappella. Just disappointing. Badass princess. My friend's little sister has it in for me. Santa but anime. Terminator plus magic. Weak MC with OP skill. The monster wants to eat me. Hero without a class. MC who is unluckily lucky. Chitose is in the ramune bottle. My awkward senpai. Pass the monster meat, milady. The banished court magician aims to be the strongest. Injury prone romance. Spy X secret family. Kick-ass but anime. MC gains powers from marriage. Emotionless romance. Robot maid but not really. Dance, the anime. A star brighter than the sun. Ecchi masseuse. Among Us, the anime. Little Miss Vampire Can't Suck Right. Yokai Hotel. Dating Sim IRL. Spy X robot. Knockoff Pokemon. Touring after the apocalypse. Girls making manga. Orchestra anime. Historical detectives with ghosts. Plus size misadventures in love. Ninja vs. Kokodo. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was me breaking down and rating every anime of 2025. Probably. Now it's time to do it all over again with all the anime in 2026. So, I actually need to leave right now so that I can go watch some. So I'll see you next year. Well, for this video. I'll obviously be uploading plenty after this, so you should just definitely look out for those. I just more so mean like this type of video, like a yearly thing, and that, you know what, you get what I mean. So I'm just gonna end the video now.